I think the button's been hit.
Yeah, you're good.
It doesn't have a countdown.
You gotta go now, Jill.
The Indie Council's in session. Welcome, everybody. This is a place for the leading voices from across the industry to gather to talk news, titles, and everything indie. I'm your master of ceremonies, Jill Grote, the Indie Informer. And in 2025, as Jenny stated, I'm giving everyone the gift of agency by letting them introduce themselves. Mike, who are you?
I'm one half of the EP twins today. I'm so tired. It's my second Celsius of the day.
The other half of the EP twins, Jenny Wyndham.
Yahoo! Yep,
Yeah,
I'm the
whoa.
other half of the EP twins. Very tired today.
Last but not least, Janet Garcia. Tell us about yourself.
Hello. I'm out here rocking the new year, you know? We don't have to make the same mistakes we made last year. This is a clean slate for all of us. Welcome to the podcast if you're just joining for the first time as a listener.
I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah. I know. Janet's directly calling us out, Mike.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Let's be honest, calling me out.
It's a time of atonement. It's a time of cleansing, you know? The discourse of last year doesn't need to come back this year. Like, it's a whole new time.
Yeah.
And at this moment, and I know y'all are going to try to disagree, but try to resist that urge. We are not behind on games yet.
Absolutely.
Because you just started.
I'm feeling good.
We're going good. No, we're
Mike,
going
you're
good.
You're good.
You know?
Sure.
As the curation jury for the Indie Game Awards, we are 2 months behind on games.
Okay.
Yeah, but like the December cleanup, I always find a little easier than like
November
the
also.
February lift, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess specific to that. But you know, it's a little bit like you have the gift of knowledge. You know, you kind of know what maybe is hot that you missed. You maybe know what might not be worth your time if you know have people in your life there to inform you. It's a little easier to clean up than to keep up.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And it's just like, yeah, there are things I saw over the break that I'm like, I keep teasing. I'm gonna tell people about it. I'm gonna write my thoughts up. I got one of my first previews up.
Nice.
But you know, those I'm just counting as like extra. They're new things. They're things y'all want to check out. So 2025, we are all going strong. We're not behind. We are right on time. And in fact, perhaps a little bit ahead of schedule. Talking about things that are ahead of schedule. I don't know if that transition makes sense. Let's go over to indie news. We have a lot of award nominee announcements going on, and very exciting for the indie scene. We have DICE Awards coming up in February. Is February right? It sounds wrong for some reason.
I think so. Yeah.
Right near Valentine's Day, February 13th.
Right there. So Thursday, February 13th at 8 p.m. Pacific time, the DICE Awards are going to be hitting. And I did some math, which is not my forte. So if anybody goes back and looks, just don't blame me. But by my count of the categories that are there, more than 70% of those categories include at least one indie game. So
Nice.
like, we're taking over. I'm feeling really good about it. Did y'all get a chance to check these out?
I'm scrolling
just
now.
glancing through it. I think the DICE Awards, for those who maybe don't remember or need a refresher, it is like, decided by the developer, like the industry side, like the game making side of the industry, versus something like the Game Awards, which is decided by the media side, you know, a selection of media representatives.
Right.
Obviously, there's other award shows that have their own angles, but because of that reason, you have just like, there's a unique flavor to DICE that I think is kind of fun, and something that I always get a kick out of is what the industry itself is sort of impressed by, looking to highlight. I also think what's cool about these categories is that they also feel a little bit more like honed in, because you know they're from people that like actually do the technological work, so they can maybe speak a little bit more strongly and confidently to something like outstanding technical achievement, categories like that. So always a fun one to see. And I feel like DICE historically has also like had a couple like weirdo picks, which I think is exciting, you know.
Yeah.
And by that I mean things that are like less obvious or less predictable. So excited to see how things shake up for the titles that they have here.
Yeah, I'm so with you with how the reflection of who is doing the voting changes so much about the feel of this awards, just the whole awards in itself. Like one of the first couple of categories includes both outstanding achievement in animation and outstanding achievement in art direction, which is not something you normally see pulled apart. But because of these, kind of knowledgeable, in-depth, like developers who are a part of the process, you get that kind of distinction. And I'm really interested. I know we're going to go and we're going to make predictions about the particular indie game category, but I do just want to shout out that Neva has made the outstanding achievement in animation, but not art direction, which I find, like, I'm really curious. I don't have the technical knowledge to understand exactly why that is, because I would think art direction would be the one to go with on that. But, achievement in animation. The other one that I wanted to shout out, I thought of Mike immediately when I saw the driving category, because there are only 3 games in the driving category, if I remember correctly. And one of them could have been an indie, 1 or 2 or 3 of them could have been indies. We had a lot of good driving indies.
There are a lot of banger racing games this year. It's a shame.
If you had to put one in there, Mike, what would you put in there?
I mean, I've talked about it to death, but Victory Heat Rally I think is like legitimately like one of the best arcade racers in recent memory. Drive Rally is really good. Parking Garage Rally, I forgot what that game is called, but that's really good also. Yeah, there's a lot of really, really cool racing games out there from this past year. So yeah, it's a bummer that we couldn't find 2 to fill the gap, but hey, it is what it is.
Is that the only category that's got 3 in it? I think so.
Yeah, and sports has 4, which is interesting.
Put more sports in there.
Where's backyard baseball? Come on, put backyard baseball in there.
Right there, Mike.
Come on.
But I wanted to let you say that. Okay, so we have outstanding achievement for an independent game is the only outright independent category, if I am looking at this correctly, which I hope I am. I hope I can read, because that's part of my job. So the nominees include Animal Well, Balatro, Grun, Indica, and Mouthwashing. And these are all games that
banger list.
Yeah. That are all up very high on our last year's list. I think Grun was I'm not going to say. Grun was in the upper half.
I think it's
I don't want
within
to
the
ruin
podcast
for anyone who hasn't seen
if you're listening to it out of order, I feel like that's kind of just the choice that you made. Yeah, Grun. I think that's fair game. That Grun was our top pick, which I feel very validated by Grun's inclusion on here. I mean, I would have rocked it either way because I feel like Grun's a great game. I don't need to be validated, but I like to be validated. So I'm like,
we all do.
Yeah. We're smart.
I know,
we're right there with our hand on the pulse.
Nice, you can call us next year and we'll just give you our list. That's okay.
Yeah, just hold on to that feeling for when we skip over.
Like, we get it. The people that get it get it. It's like,
and we get it.
Yeah, I think something that's fun too, just to shout out again, the developer focus that the DICE Awards has, because it's from like a developer space. On top of listing the publisher and the developer, they also list like the credits essentially, like underneath, and
very cool.
I imagine they're like inherently less comprehensive for larger games. They're usually limited to maybe the people. Well, they're kind of like limited to reflecting the people that are within the category. So like with technical achievement, they have like the technical director listed, and for indies, since the teams are pretty small, like it'll just have like the names of the people, because that list is usually pretty compact. But yeah, I think that's also just really cool.
Yeah, and it links back to like their games and stuff. All really cool stuff. So yeah, we'll put that link for the whole list. You can go check it out and see what indies are where, and you know who to vote for when February 13th comes out. But let's talk about
the classic. Me and Mike both have something extra to add on. I was going to ask, do y'all think it's gonna? Oh,
yeah. What's the prediction? What's the prediction for the winner? We got to figure that out.
I'm wondering, are we going to see Balatro kind of clean up in the ways that it's cleaned up in other award shows?
Know.
It is a fantastic game, and it's in a couple different categories. So I'm just curious, like generally, if y'all think
I would love to see it win Game of the Year, because it's in that category,
and I think it will. I'm curious, when Goose Game won Game of the Year, did it also win indie,
I
or
don't
did it
think
like
it
did
did.
it split?
That's the funny thing. I think that it didn't win both.
So yeah, I'm curious if like
Someone double check. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have.
I'm
the
wondering if
feeling-
they have any restrictions, kind of like with the show, with Mike, where it's like we didn't nominate a game in multiple categories to help spread it out. It's like, are they restricting winners to one category to like limit the kind of sweeps that we see maybe in other showcases?
yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like fudging the numbers a little bit. If that's the
I
case.
also wonder if there's like unconscious bias when it comes to like this game has won
Yeah.
so many things. Which I think for the most part, no one is ever going in like, oh, I don't want to vote for this anymore because it's already won things. But like,
Oh yeah, no.
I think there is some sort of internal thing in the back of your brain being like, well, there's a lot of good games and maybe Platro isn't the winner. So do we think that it'll still get winner for outstanding achievement in independent game?
I would like it to. I mean, honestly, these are
Yeah.
all banger games. I feel like when I think about outstanding achievement, Balatro for me is a standout in this group of standouts personally. In the way particularly that it broke through in a way that these other four games did not necessarily break through. Especially to like people who aren't into indies. I think that's like
Wow.
the biggest
What's your
thing.
problem with nuns?
The nun
They know what they
community
do.
did not
These
show
Catholics,
up
you know what I'm
and,
saying?
and, like
Happy New Year.
blow up the game. But yeah, I think for me, Balatro would be my pick if I had to pick one of these titles, knowing that I dearly loved every single one of these games.
Really quick, Untitled Goose Game did the year that it won 2020. It got outstanding achievement for an independent game and outstanding achievement in character. Untitled Goose Game of the year.
Was the goose the
Oh, interesting.
character?
I assume
Because I think the
so.
gardener was really a moving character in that game.
All the
Let's
victims.
see. The goose, yes. It's like a weird
Dedicated to
yeah.
our victims.
Untitled Goose Game for the goose. Yes, which I
Amazing.
feel like that's just a fun thing to select on a ballot.
Janet, if you're still on that page, what were Game of the Year noms that year?
Yeah, game
Just
of
so
the
you know
year
whether or not Balatro has a chance of winning this year.
Well, it's
was,
either Balatro or Astrobot, right?
we have of the year that Goose Game won, it was Untitled Goose Game, Control, Death Stranding, Disco Elysium, and Outer Wilds.
It's actually shocking
Ooh,
that Disco didn't
That
win.
is
Wow.
Disco didn't win because
Right.
it won
Hey,
every
y'all know I'm an
single
Untitled Goose
award
Game
that it
hater,
was-
low key. So it's like, I
I mean, Goose Game
was surprised by
slaps.
it,
I love Goose Game.
Yeah.
it was fun. It
So-
was a fun time. But-
Taking what I feel like that means to me is maybe we're looking less at some of the things that maybe the journalistic side would look at, maybe the players would look at. So bringing that to my prediction for outstanding achievement in indie game for this year, I'm thinking maybe Animal Well takes it because it's got that really tight, like really aha moments design to it where it's just like amazing amounts of things you can do with that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's between Balatro and Animal Well for obviously all the reasons we talked about. Animal Well being like this deep, no pun intended, well of just unlocking secrets and the loop and the near like
You're
system
well,
about all the endings.
animals, you know?
The animals, the wells, the eggs. Balatro being just like, this is like we talked about, like this is all voted on by developers and people in like the development side of the industry. So like I could see people really digging into the systems and like commending Local Funk on like the systems and the gameplay design of what that game is built on and just like how that broke through the mainstream. Unlike I can't really remember an indie breaking through like Balatro in the past few years at the very least. So yeah, my gut tells me Balatro is gonna sweep both indie and the big game of the year.
Interesting.
I think so too, especially with I don't know what the description of the categories are for like on the juror side of things. The idea of outstanding achievement for an independent game. I feel like Balatro, both in its quality and design and the fact that the team is just this one person, and the fact that it's like was such a hit, and I think it's going to be like talked about for so many years. Balatro does feel like, I don't want to say once in a lifetime, because we have, we talked a few episodes ago about the indie canon and what we might put on there. I know we want to revisit that sometime this year to sort of put a pin in it and finish it out and have
Jenny
Jenny's
save
thoughts
us.
on it. Yeah, as well. But I feel like there's a good chance that, years from it's like one of those hit moments in, I think, the culture of the game industry. So I'd be a little surprised if it doesn't win, but obviously there's a lot of incredible contenders
Of
in this
course.
category for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like the first time in I guess since Vampire Survivors, it feels like we just adapted a new genre as well.
Yeah.
Something we'll talk about later is like, oh my God, words I've been playing. It's literally a 1-for-1 interpretation of Balatro, except it's Scrabble. So like I have a feeling there's gonna be so many Balatro likes
Okay, I'm
dropping
tapping
similar
over
to
now because I need that game.
similar to Survivors, like similar to Souls, like so it feels like one of those like tentpole moments for our industry. And I bet you, putting a pin in our topic of the show, we're gonna be sick of Balatro likes by the end of the year, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It's going to be hard. I think there are going to be a lot of people that go after that, and not a lot of people who hit that formula correctly. But
Yeah.
as if I am hearing correctly, I stand alone, the lone cheese, voting for Animal Well. Everybody else is going Balatro. That doesn't bode well for me in the future, but maybe we'll see what happens.
Listen, selfishly, as a friend and a homie, I would love to see Billy on that stage with Amwell and getting his moment.
Well, good luck to everybody. But continuing on with the awards, the Independent Gaming Festival Awards, if I remember what IGF stands for, is also coming up soon. We're going to hit March 19th, 6:30 p.m. PT. This is during GDC. And it's always a fun time to go to. Oh, I've got a cat trying to figure out how to climb me. This is the one that, like, in always seeing the nominations exhilarates me because I have so many new things to check out, but also kind of like, do I know anything about indie games? Because there are so many games that are just like, oh, I don't know. So Jenny, who is so smart and so excellent, was here to help us out.
So EP.
Because
So eepy.
so weepy. Because one of my first questions about the IGF Awards is, what are the criteria for choosing nominations? And we're going to get to some of the highlights of the nominations in a second. So Jenny, would you like to explain a little bit about what you know of the criteria for these awards?
Yes. So just for like, there's a bunch of legal details, like you have to be legally able to submit the game and like all of that stuff. But for our purposes, the criteria is essentially it must be independently created. I tried to look up how they defined it, and the form was actually closed, so I couldn't get the actual language that they used for what they define indie as. In the website, I forget where I found it, but they said it has to be within the creative indie spirit, and they reserve the right to like pull or at least contest if you call yourself an indie. So there's that. It must be either currently released or essentially feature complete so that people are able to properly judge it. And if it is not currently released, it must have the intent to launch within about 12 months of the IGF, like the IGF that it's submitting for. So for us, IGF is happening March 19th. So it has to launch in that 12-month window. So that's why we have some games that we're going to talk about that aren't actually out yet. Yes.
So 12 months, like March 2025 to March 2026?
I am not sure, actually. I just know they said like within 12 months of the date. So
I wonder if that
Maybe
means
either
12
way.
months before and 12 months after.
Yeah,
because
maybe.
there are a
they
lot
just
of
like
games.
keep it open. Yeah.
Yeah, that are just like, I don't know if this is coming out this year. And there are a lot of games where I'm like, that came out very early last year. So yeah,
And yeah, like there's things like Despelate. I'm very white.
Despelate.
Despelate. Thank you. And Consume Me that like don't have public windows yet. So like that
Right.
makes it interesting also.
Yeah.
There's just sort of, we promise we're coming out soon.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, and that's the thing. It's like they also have the caveat of like you need to intend to release within that 12-month sort of like structure, but they also understand game development is wild, especially now. And so I think like as long as you have like in good faith the intent to launch within that window, but you aren't like contractually bound. So we may see these games like Consume Me, for example, that don't have a date. Maybe they intend to launch, but then it still gets pushed back. You know, that's fine, I think, as far as the submissions go.
Yeah. I think my read on the IGF Awards intent is a celebration of indie games more than in like
Yeah.
categorical
Yeah.
trophy giving type ceremony. And it does a good job because it shines light on games that even people in the trenches don't know about. So let's talk about the nomination leader with 5 nominations, Consume Me. I've
Yay.
never heard of this game. I've literally never heard of this
I
game.
Literally
love
just heard of it
this.
now.
Oh my gosh. It's been in development, I think, basically since I got into like I think the first time I saw it was around 2018. So this is a game that's been worked on for a long, long time. Um,
It's up
and
for excellence in design, excellence in narrative, excellence in visual art, the Nuovo Award, and the Seamus McNally Grand Prize, which is a wild bunch of categories to be nominated in.
So this is
Anything
the
that's
greatest game that hasn't
yeah,
existed yet.
exactly. And you
It's like
can't
they're
play it
like
as
calling the
far as I
shot.
know. I
so
tried.
there used to be a itch build up. It's not there anymore. They so I do know a little, like I have been able to play this game, so I can speak to some of
Yeah,
it.
Jenny.
And I've seen some of like the development stuff. I think it's changed a lot, so I'm interested to see how it's evolved. But it I think it's going to be a really compelling, really solid game. In the IGF like press release, I think they compared it to like a Venba essentially, and I do
Mm.
think it'll hit that same um, sort of note a couple of different ways. The game itself is about the developers' struggle with like disordered eating and this idea of like controlling like your diet to fit a certain mold. And the structure is basically you're trying to within a couple of weeks like figure out how to lose weight for this event that's going to be happening. And so you're doing these mini games to control your diet, and there's like little slice of life things you do each day to sort of bring you through the game in sort of a mini game kind of style. Um,
I think one of the most
so
interesting
good.
things that I read on the website, which I'll link down so everyone can read it, was something like you are in a competition where your biggest enemy is yourself. I'm like, oh, that's a really cool concept. I'm super down
Mhm.
for this. The official kind of blurb says, Consume Me is a darkly humorous personal game about my relationship with food. The project started out as a collection of prototypes which drew from my past experiences with dieting and disordered eating. So it's going to be uh, deeply personal. Like I, just going off of design, narrative, art. Uh, the Nouveau Award, like for anybody who's not familiar with these awards, is basically these are the wild ones. Like these are games that are out there, they are new, they are fresh, they've got wild things going on that you're not used to playing. So to have both that and the grand prize award along with design and narrative and visual art, like we
For
might have.
context, A Thousand Times Resist was, I think, the Nuovo Award nominee. I don't know if it won. I don't think it won. I think it was a nominee. Crypt Master, also
Mhm.
Nuovo
Woo.
Award. So it's like these are the games that you you want to watch for
Yeah.
sure.
So yeah, we're gonna have to keep an eye out. I'm gonna have to find out a way to play this. I'm gonna be poking people and figuring it out. And hopefully, if the criteria means what we think it is, it'll drop sometime this year. So, again, amazing way to shed light on a game that almost no one had heard of. So awesome. But just below that, with 4 nominations, Despelote. I'm so excited to see this game get some flowers. It doesn't seem like it's been making the hype rounds like it wanted to. Janet and I were speaking with some of the people behind the game, and just talking about how we hope to see a little bit more hype when it comes to the game coming out. I don't think we actually have a release just yet. Okay. I'm like looking over at Janet, like, Janet, do you know what it is?
I'm doing that thing where, like, you know, you start the year and you're like, well, put everything on hooks, right? You just change your whole life. So I'm like, I got Trello, I got Toggle, I got my bullet journal. Like, I'm running all these machines, and I'm algorithmically gonna have a productive and happier life according to my data. So yes, it doesn't have a date yet. But I played which you played it as well, right, Jill? At like PAX.
Yep. I played it at PAX some time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was really cool. How did you? You don't speak Spanish, correct?
I do not speak Spanish.
Okay, how did you feel about? I'd say it's the only maybe light concern I have with the game. I wonder how did you feel about understanding what was going on? It's all subtitled, obviously. I think that was kind of implied. But there are times where you're sort of overhearing conversations and bits,
Right.
and they're kind of all mixing together. How did that, feel as like an English speaker? Like, did you feel like you were missing out on stuff? Did you feel like it didn't matter?
I mean, I think, and maybe this speaks to me as a person, I felt like I was missing out on stuff, but in a way of like when you are immersed in another culture, you are missing out on things, and it's intriguing because you're not getting it, and you're kind of a fish out of water. And I think that's probably how I'm going to feel about the full game itself, because as I was playing the demo, I could feel the nostalgia for a time and place and space and everything, like hometown of something completely outside of myself that I do not have nostalgia for, that I have never known. But like, you can always feel when that nostalgia is hitting correctly, and you can tell it's like um a personal connection to the developer in the way that they're unfolding. And so I feel like that's where it's going to hit for me. This is, I think, going to be a lot like Thank Goodness You're Here, with people who can appreciate everything kind of on the surface level, but anybody who's from like northern UK will probably get a lot more of the references and feel a lot more deeply about what's happening. So yeah, that it's great to see that game get 4 nominations here, and hopefully a little more eyes on it. Okay. Last but not least, we got 3 different games with 3 different nominations, and those include Indica, Caves of Cud, and Thank Goodness You're Here. Speaking of Thank Goodness You're Here, again, it's a wild mix of things because you have these 2 games that don't have any sort of announcement for their window for release, and then the last 3 games with special highlights for nominations are games. Well, Caves of Cud came out like December, but the rest of them, like Indica, came out fairly early in the year. And Thank Goodness You're Here. It's also, I think, summery time. So, yeah, a lot of spread. I want to. Does anybody want to go into depth about any of those games in particular before I jump into other thoughts?
Caves of Code is going to be one of those games that, like, I know all of us should play, but goddamn, does it intimidate me.
I was like, I've been looking at it for a
Yeah.
while, and I'm like, I probably should give it a shake. But has anyone here played it?
No.
I mean, like, the barest
You
of
thought about
touches,
playing?
but it's like, it was my vacation time, and it came out during that window.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm
no
like,
judges.
oh, that's
I was
too
just-
bad. That's too bad.
I didn't play it. I was just yeah. It's the description on Steam is that it's a science fantasy roguelike steeped in retrofuturism, deep simulation, and swaths of sentient plants.
Yeah.
I think the thing that, for me at least, and I don't know if other people feel this way as well, is it is intimidating in that when you look at the art, you look at the setup, the trailer, it's very much like PC game back in the day energy, and that just isn't my history with games. Like, I was always like a console gamer that maybe did a couple PC Flash games, at school. It's like, oh, we played Oregon Trail when there was no lesson plan. It's like, okay, cool, but this just feels like it feels a little overwhelming, but I do think it's getting, this is just one example, but it's definitely been getting its hype. It's overwhelmingly positive on Steam if you want to, go by that, which is not perfect, but, that definitely does point to people are playing this and liking it. I just wonder how accessible it would be to me. But I think also if it's not, I might know that really quick. So I should probably just buck up and start the game and see what it actually is. Maybe it's not as intimidating as it looks, but that's been kind of my hesitance. I'm like, I don't really know what's going on. There's a code panel on the side of it. It all looks very scary looking.
Yeah, it's funny because it gives me the same vibe as like Dwarf Fortress, which I know is another highly regarded game, but it's for super like, I feel like systems driven people and people who are like spreadsheets people. I love spreadsheets, but I don't think I love spreadsheets that much. And I think people who are like into that kind of like data and story creation through these sort of games, that's like perfect, but my brain does not work like that personally. I think it's also kind of funny. I forgot that this was a Kitfox title and Dwarf Fortress as well. And so it's really interesting for me to see, just as a side, the evolution of this studio a little bit, moving into these two lanes of like this very hardcore feel with their games and their systems, but also they have some very accessible, like softer in a complimentary way feeling games. So kind of an interesting path that I'm seeing them take.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not a spreadsheet person, but I'm a spreadsheet person, y'all.
Spreadsheet, I'm so excited.
Oh my
I
y'all know
was
about
gonna make that
spreadsheet.
reference
Oh,
if you
let's
didn't.
go.
I'm so ready
Oh.
for spreadsheet. Let's do it.
I cannot wait.
That's got to show up later in the episode. But thoughts just very quickly for the IGF Award nominations. I'm really interested. We talked about Balatro getting its flowers elsewhere and how it might sweep. It gets, I think, just one nomination here, and that's for design. I really would love to have been in the room when that decision was made, even though I know it's not a big room of people discussing. That's not how this works. But I wonder if there is some element of we want to shine the light on more games and some lesser appreciated games that came through this year that really should be getting some spotlight, which hasn't been shown on them because Balatro is continuously for like perfectly well earned reasons, like getting all of these nomination discussions. Anybody else find that interesting, or anything else in the categories you want to talk about?
It's definitely a little surprising, but like you said, maybe that is their rationale. And I do think, to your point earlier, Jill, like IGF is kind of like they're like on some other stuff. So I'm like, you know what? You go do your thing. They kind of have a whole nother system with the it's just not done like that for any, usually it's like you have the cutoff and everything is like a more known quantity versus here where it's like, you'll hear more of the audio when it releases. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. Like it's sort of just a strange spot for it to be at. So a little surprising, but not too shocking for something that's kind of doing its own thing. I think the only thing I want to shout out that we haven't talked about is me. I was scanning through the list as you were talking, and the honorable mentions, I feel like it's low key where like some of the juice is at. Obviously, it's not like, there's no objectivity in these things. They're all inherently subjective. But I think we often see, the same kind of games come up at like maybe TGAs, our podcasts, other indie shows, other, like you'll see a couple people know Balatro at this point, right? People know even something like Grun. Like it's like there's a chance that, you might have to be a little more in the weeds. I think what's cool about these honorable mentions is they're still probably great games, but they're like they didn't quite make like that cut for the awards part. So it's like, you'll get like a deeper cut in there. And they do have some kind of obvious answers for the honorable mention. Mouthwashing's in there for certain things, or UFO 50, but there's also like some deeper cuts, like a game that I think I have code for, but I haven't gotten to, that I'm very curious about. It's called Miniatures, and that's in here. Okay. And they also have like other titles that, I haven't really heard of or wasn't as familiar with. So I'm definitely gonna look over those and see, like, at least wish, if nothing else, I like to just wish list stuff and kind of get a pile of, if I ever just want to explore, these are games that kind of caught my eye at one time and I can kind of, get back to them at my leisure, but definitely a spot for deep cuts if people are interested in more of those.
Yeah, I spied in Visual Arts Ultros, so good nomination there, or shout out for honorable mention. Yeah, go and check out the list because it's really good. If you're looking
It's a very
for
good list.
indie games, yeah, if you're looking for indie games that are amazing, that you need to be keeping an eye on, or that you need to have in your backlog, uh, this is a good place to go. Amazing choices all around. Speaking of games to keep on your radar, we've got a lot of little like gaming tidbits that have been coming up, not a part of any big particular like showcase or anything, things that just pop up in my email or on social media. I'm like, this is the future. This is where I have to be keeping my eye. Completely out of nowhere, Co-op announced that it's currently working on a project that should hit this year, it sounds like. So this was from the co-founder, and Co-op again is the developer that made Goodbye Volcano High. And they just dropped that in a response to the Indie Informer's 2025 anticipated list. And it says, no one knows that we're cooking, but you should be excited for a new Co-op project this year. I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what kind of game this could be. I kind of want to put it in my bingo list. Spoilers for what's coming up, but how are y'all feeling about that?
It's nice,
Exciting.
but I think
We know the secrets.
we kind of all talk at the same time.
Janet,
Mike, what do
you got this.
Okay, never mind. It's me now. Just one thing I was going to say is it's kind of nice that a benefit of the indie scene is that you get a little more juice than you can get in the AAA level, just because it's like there's a little bit more red tape. Now there's still some red tape. I know you had replied to this person and they were like, "Oh, I can't really say more," kind of thing. But the fact that they could even say that little bit, it's just nice to have some additional insights. I think that's kind of what's exciting about covering and following the indie space. You get so much more, more information, more direct conversations with developers, more behind the scenes content on how like games are made. So I think it's cool for that. And yeah, I'm definitely curious what they're cooking up. But Mike, you looked like you were going to jump in there.
Good studio. Can't wait. That's it. Something about that, just like an additional tidbit, like kind of jumping off of what Jenna was just saying. I like that. It's a very indie thing to do. Like, yeah, it's no secret we're probably working on something new, so why not? Let's get a little, feed the fish a little bit.
Yeah, have some fun. Yeah.
Just have some fun. It's video games. Have some fun.
Gesture was going to end up. What phrase was going to go with it?
Feed the fish.
Like a Salt Bay,
Feed the fish.
like an
That's
old
feed the fish,
meme
everybody.
references.
Today, I think just earlier today, Echo Weaver announced that it's getting a publisher. Acapura is now in charge of publishing Moonlight Kids development, and those are the devs behind The Wild at Heart. Echo Weaver is maybe one of my top games to keep an eye on this year. I don't know anything about when it's being released, and they didn't put anything in this announcement. But the last time I saw it was GDC last year, and they were self-publishing at that point. So this is a cool announcement out of nowhere. Hopefully that means that we get a lot more of the vision and we get a big announcement somewhere. If you look at I'll put the link down, of course, for everybody. If you look at the video, at the very end, it's like, it's coming out on everything. And I'm like, okay, good for you. Good on you. So they've got some plans. I wouldn't be surprised if this showed up at like a major publisher event, kind of like maybe Winterboro was at Xbox, where that's usually not the kind of thing that you expect to show up at an Xbox showcase. But like, hey, maybe we get an Echo Weaver at the next Xbox thing, or PlayStation if it does another indie thing.
I think the Xbox Yes is like a solid one, just in the sense that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Echo Weaver was playable at that Xbox
at the Xbox event, yeah.
GDC kind of hands-on thing they had for a bit of media. So there's definitely, they have them as we need to think of like a name for this, but kind of almost like the chosen, almost like their indie council, right? Like the chosen indies. Like every AAA publisher has like their like little like armchair council of indies that they put additional marketing spend behind, more playable opportunities, maybe more just kind of, it's a little bit more in your face. Dungeons of Hinterberg got similar treatment,
Yeah.
which again, that's cool. There's nothing wrong, and you can only pick so many games to do that for. You cannot do that for every single game in your store. But inherently, there are the ones that you kind of see them out there. They're shaking hands. They're kind of passing out the coupons on the store. So, yeah, definitely a chance I could be their next one of those.
Also very recently announced, Little Gator Game in the Dark is a new game-sized DLC. We don't have a date, but they are. I mean, I'm so down. Little Gator Game was fantastic. What we see in the trailer looks amazing. Again, no date, but yeah, I'm super down for this. Again, really out of the blue. There were no rumblings. There was no like, oh, Little Gator Games, keep an eye out for what's happening. They recently celebrated 2 years for Little Gator Game, and I think that's the last kind of info I saw on this. Anybody have any particular feelings about this announcement?
We're so goddamn back. I'm so excited to see my little lad again.
See his little lad.
I missed him. When did Little Gator Game launch? I feel like this wasn't like 20
It was 2 years
what?
ago. Something like
Only
that.
2 years ago?
2022.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
that was-
DLC at 3 years later is interesting.
Yeah.
That was something that the only thing I was going to comment on for this is I feel like I'm not a big DLC person because I'm like a credit sicko, and I'm like, you beat the DLC, it's not the same as beating a game. I know it says game sized, but I'm like, it's not a separate game though. So that's just my own psychological hangups. But I think what's cool about this as a Gator Game fan is I feel like that's a good sign for like how the game sold and is doing and how the studio is. Again, indie operates way different than AAA, so I feel like this. I think this is good. I'm like, okay, you guys seem like you're maybe healthy and you're trucking along, and that's what I care about as someone that thought Little Game was a fantastic game that more people should play.
Yeah.
And if, for all intents and purposes, it sounds like it's pretty much a sequel without it being a actually named
but
sequel.
I don't get the clout, Mike. That's the thing. I can't in my little notebook, I can't say like I'm this much better than
Janet,
I was yesterday.
we can't go into this because we already promised no discourse from last year, and this is essentially the
you're right. Yeah.
Elden Ring.
True.
problem.
Yeah, but that's
So
Triple
we
H.
can't talk about
discourse.
this.
We got our own problems down here in Indieland, I suppose. But yeah, maybe I'll be less bitter and just play it because it's probably gonna be rad. Again, Little Gator. If you like Short Hike, you got to be playing Little Gator Game.
Yeah,
It's so good.
100%.
I love that they're essentially just doing the Tears of the Kingdom thing.
Yeah, we're
Which
going
makes sense.
underground, everybody.
I-
We're going
Like-
underground.
I didn't even clock that until you mentioned it. But yeah, that is actually very funny.
Yeah,
Now I
it's
feel
very
like I have to
good.
just play it for the bit. But yeah, it's just good game. Good game.
Very good game. Play it.
Okay, last thing on our quick tidbits is something that Mike has just put on the dock. So go ahead, Mike. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, it was doom scrolling through YouTube earlier, and it seems like Devolver announced a new game today out of nowhere. Morai, grimdark fairy tale with an even darker sense of humor. Experience frantic combat, perplexing puzzles, and a twisting narrative anchored by a bizarre cast of characters. Seems like a top-down action kind of game. Has a little bit. The trailer shows a bit of the comedic elements. Like, I think he like defeats a big enemy and like confetti flies all over the screen. So seems like something they're not taking, like an action game that's not taking itself too seriously. The interesting thing on the Steam page, Devolver's not listed, but it seems like this is being co-published by Good Shepherd Entertainment. You may know who recently launched Dice Folk, which I know a lot of people liked.
Yeah.
On the opposite side of that, they also did the Hellboy game that not a lot of people liked. So yeah, it looks interesting. I like top-down action-y kind of games. So yeah, shout out to Devolver.
Shout out to Devolver. Anything else anybody wants to throw in before we head over to our topic of the show? I'm taking the silence as a moving on. But then again, every time I start to move on, people will be like, wait, there's one more thing I want to say. So I'm gonna let everyone say their piece. Okay, we're going over the topic of the show. And we're gonna start off this indie year of 2025 with a little bit of bingo for everybody. We're gonna come together. We're gonna think of some wonderful things. We're gonna talk about anticipated games, some publishers to watch for, developers with something perhaps to say, something to announce, anything that we can think of that we'd like to see to happen in 2025. It's going to be an interesting, like, throwing out predictions that are interesting, but also could happen so that we might actually win this bingo session for the year. And I'm going to try to keep up with it as we go on. So I'm going to actually make a bingo of some of the things that we have said here. I hope we say way too many things to put on a bingo card, but we'll see. Starting.
Shout out to your placeholder bingo card.
Yeah. I just wanted to like make sure everybody understood bingo.
All the squares just say like in
That's how it works.
2025 happen game
It's
and happen
happening.
in
It's all
and it just kind of
happening.
keeps going. It kind of looks, and then visually for the people that only are listening on the audio, which fair, it's a podcast, I get it. It kind of reminds me of when you're the optometrist and you're sort of just like trying to read from a distance. It's like got that same kind of fonts. Whether taking notes like this person doesn't know what an E looks like. Yeah. Anyway, but
If somebody tries
gonna
to-
be fun.
If somebody asked me like, hey, describe Lorelai and the laser eyes, I would show them this image.
Literally, yeah. It looks just like that.
Okay, so
You're,
it's going to
you're
be
making
like
the
that.
connections. You're sharp this year, Mike. You're out
Yeah.
here.
It's early in the year. There's
kingdom, the Lord. Yeah.
there's plenty of time to rot, you know?
We haven't sanded down those edges just yet. I like it.
Okay, so I want to start off perhaps in the easiest category that we can probably have. Game releases.
Silk Song.
Oh yeah.
I did it. I'm so glad I wasn't the one.
I think every year until it comes out, we have to put it on there. It's part of the culture.
So I was
know?
thinking
Unfortunately.
putting Silk Song
I
on there
totally
as
agree.
the free space, but instead of releasing,
No, 'cause it's
just
gonna
like
ruin everything.
someone asks
Yeah.
for Silk Song is our free space instead of saying Silk Song comes out.
I think the free space should be good indies come out this year. Because we
Silk
know
Song
that would be
appearance
good
in
indies,
chat.
right?
Silk Song in chat is our free space.
That is
There
a little
we go.
funnier.
Yeah.
But then what if it comes out, we just don't get the credit of that? Like, I don't know.
It's still in chat. It's still in
It'll
chat
end
if
up in a
you're-
chat.
It'll end up in the chat.
All right, I can see we're not going to be brave for this card. Good to know. Now I get the
It's
sense
the
of-
free
Yeah.
space.
Janet, I was with you. I said we should put Silk Song down. It's gonna happen. It has
One
to
of the
happen.
years we'll be right. If
No,
we do
yeah.
this,
here's
will
the
be a new
thing.
thing.
Every time you say the name of the game, it pushes back the release date a couple of months. So
It's like saying
we've
Bloody
already
Mary in a
pushed it
mirror.
into,
I know.
like-
This is
yeah.
like that BS. So my mom being like, if you look out the window for when your dad's going to pick you up, it's going to take him longer. I knew what she meant, but I'm like, that's not true. Like mathematically, it's not. I didn't say that, but I thought it. And now I
wise
don't
to
stop
me.
talking. So is that what you want to happen? Is that what you want to happen? I understand if you'll go, but I think it'd be a fun thing. At one point, it's going to come out. It's a big part of the thing. But,
Okay.
you know.
If y'all want to put Silk Song comes out in 2025, we can put
Oh yeah,
that.
put it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay.
not in the middle, just somewhere in the thing.
And not to
Not in the
repeat
middle,
the
not in the middle.
sentence, not to repeat the sentence we've been, saying for the past 4 years. It's got to be the year, right?
It's got to be the year.
Gotta be here.
Every year it gets more
Famous
likely,
last
even though
words.
that's not how the statistics of that actually work, apparently. But in my mind, every year it gets more likely.
Can I throw a kind of equally spicy
I want to hear the
Release?
spice. Let's go.
and like it's not technically indie anymore in the development. It got picked up by a publisher, whatever. Playdead's new game.
Ooh, yeah. I haven't heard about that in a while.
We saw that screenshot like 8 years ago at this point.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds.
No, I think it is.
But since they're not, because they have been purchased, then yes.
I think Epic picked them up like mid development or something.
We're
As
running
long
into
as
a
it
lot
wa-
of spice already. The first
Yeah.
two entries, the blades are drawn.
Janet, no rules, no gods. 2025. You know what I'm saying?
How about instead of releasing Playdead's new game, we argue about whether it's an indie?
I think we just maybe we need a separate card, like the indie purgatory. That'll be our own secret card that we make of like, this is an indie, but like you kind of thought it was before you
No, we
Googled
have
it,
to.
right?
We have to full send the bingo experience. So if we're putting it on, we're putting it on.
I vote no because it's not an indie because it's owned by somebody.
But it wasn't owned. The
That's right.
game itself wasn't owned beforehand. when it was inceptioned.
Is the studio owned, or
but
is
we
it
know
just
it
the
now.
game being published?
Yeah, because that's totally different. Also, that's what I asked.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
are they owned?
Right.
If Epic's, I don't have a problem with a big publisher. You know, Ubisoft comes
Yeah,
down from
Mike,
their
you look
mountain
into
to
that.
publish Unravel. That's between Unravel and
Okay,
and
but
Ubisoft.
Unravel, Ubisoft is has a indie publishing.
Also, sorry, EA
incentive
Originals, I
program.
meant.
Yeah, so
That's
EA
not
Originals.
Ubisoft.
different.
Ubisoft, step it up. Where's the indie initiative? Because what's going on there? But yeah, while you look that up, I have one, but I don't know how we'd quantify this. But one of my ideas was, oh, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Playdead is an independent studio. Epic is just publishing the game.
Okay, I think that's
I love
totally
it.
fair. I'll put it on there.
Playdead and Epic Games announced in March 2020 that Epic will publish this title, providing full development costs and support of the Unreal Engine, while giving full creative control to Playdead, and will split profits, blah, 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 blah. But Playdead is a Danish independent game developer based in Copenhagen.
Okay, yeah, get your bag. Yeah, I'm not gonna hate on that.
And it was teased in January 2017. That's when that screenshot came out.
Okay, well, it's a wild one. I love how I started out with let's just start with the confirmed games, and y'all just flew past.
Let's have
it. You know, like,
fun.
what about these games?
Well,
that
the
may
thing was
not
supposed to be
ever
like
happen?
predictions, right? Because
Right.
we know that. I mean, obviously some things can get delayed, and I think if you want to put a delay on there, that's valid. But like,
Okay.
you're gonna do what you said you're gonna do. It's like, okay, I don't know, you know.
I was just trying to start off easy, but let's talk. Then let's go with hopefuls, because I would love to see. Oh, there are too many, but Earthblade. We don't know. It was supposed to be a 2024 game, and they pushed it, but they never said a date. They weren't even like it's coming next year, 2025.
Now, if I may put the, feed the little fishies
Feed those fish.
a little bit.
Feed the fish.
Harkening back 49 episodes ago, when we talked about the Switch 2's launch lineup, Earthblade was in that conversation.
Ooh, I love it. Let's go.
Is
Mike.
Earthblade a Switch 2 launch title?
I love this prediction. Let's go with it. Earthblade is launch for. I
For
want to
launch,
jump off of
would
that.
it have to be that day? Like what are we counting for launch? Is it,
Let's
like,
say
within the month?
launch
It is.
window?
It's on. It's
like
on.
they announce it as part of the portfolio for launch titles.
Yeah, you know how like they put up that
Yeah.
image of like here's what the launch lineup looks like, and like launch day you could play Earthblade on your Switch 2.
Ooh, okay.
Launch
day one.
day.
Launch day.
Ooh,
Have they ever,
see, I
have
don't
they
know
ever
if I would-
put an indie though I mean, I know there's usually an indie that shines during that launch window. Like we all played Fast RMX and the Joy-Cons were going crazy.
I love
But-
Fast RMX. Shout out
Me
Fast
too.
RMX.
I like well, we all loved Fast RMX because it was well, first of all, it's a great game, but also it was one of 3 games you could play. So like everyone's like deep diving.
Yeah,
into Fast
Zelda
RMX.
Arms, Fast RMX.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think it'll be a day one Switch, but I do think it'll be in the launch portfolio, like within the
launch
first.
window.
That image
Yeah, like
that
the
they put out.
first, few months of the Switch. It's going to be one of those like it's coming.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put Earthblade. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
I had a
Also, if you're listening to this after Thursday afternoon or whatever, shout out to the Switch 2. I'm sure it looks great.
Shout out to.
You see Karen on the rooftop again with those magnets? Sick.
Has Nintendo officially said they're gonna say anything? That's just
No.
okay.
That's speculation.
It's
no,
speculation.
and if it doesn't happen, this time I'm suing everybody because I'm tired
Okay.
of y'all playing games on my phone. Like I'm
I
so
know.
sick of it. I'm so sick of
Yeah.
y'all. That's why I never partake. I never post about I heard or I heard someone that no. It's anyway, but that's just that's last year's discourse. So we're just gonna
Listen,
keep it.
I heard the Switch is being revealed on episode 50 of the Indie Council. Hot take though.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, time
Nibel
exclusive.
came back and he shouted that out.
Oh, Nibel.
man.
That makes me
Miss
sad.
Nibel.
Actually, I think Nibel has a. This is totally off topic, but has a
That's
Blue
fine.
Sky account. If you want to go.
Does
check
he?
it out. But it's just
Oh.
like empty, and it makes me
yeah.
sadder somehow than it just.
I don't
not
want to see it now.
existing.
It's still 9.7K followers though. I'm not gonna lie. Should I
Shut up.
be the next one? I don't know.
Yeah.
I had a similar one to Mike. So I don't. It's cool if we don't want to use it because maybe it's too samey. It's also hard to quantify. But I was gonna put Switch 2 Indie Renaissance. Again, I don't know how we'd
Ooh.
quantify that, but I'm very curious going into Switch 2. the Nintendo Switch had such like a big indie surge on it. It was like the place to play indies. People called it their indie machine. But now in the era of the Steam Deck, I'm really curious to see like, will we re-fall in love again with the platform as a space for indies? Again, a little bit tough to quantify, and I don't know if we want to
I love
two
it.
things in there, but
No,
I
I
want to
like that a
do
lot.
Nindies Revived.
Yeah.
I love it. And,
And it's
maybe
not going to last long because of all the shovelware that comes out in the later 6
we
months.
also know that Shuhei Yoshida, who is currently or very recently leaving,
I think he's
PlayStation-
officially gone.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
who
just left, yeah.
was
Yeah.
in charge of PlayStation Indies, now floating out there as a free agent. Nintendo.
I think. Did y'all see?
He's
this is
retired, though, right?
I think he's
Yes,
a voice actor.
He's
in,
a voice actor
in
in
Promise
Promise
Mascot.
Mascot. I love
Incredible.
it so
Oh,
much.
that's really funny.
Shu
Um,
ends his voice
so,
acting or
yeah.
begins his voice acting era.
Circling
Voice
back-
acting
These people
helped
can never
Nindies.
retire. Like these are like the sickest workers. That's it. Like workaholic final boss. All these people that are like high up, but not like insanely high up. They're like they can never give it up. They love it. They love it. But I'm excited for that game, so I can't wait to
Okay.
hear it.
Circling back to the
'Cause I
previous.
too am sick. I'm just not making as much
Mike's
money.
trying to keep us on the rails, and we're
Mike's
just
That's
like,
fine.
no,
off the train,
no.
you know?
Circling back, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove and Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment also launched alongside the Switch. Switch 1.
Okay, good pull. Yeah. Okay. And I
So
do
there
think
is
with the,
history of like a substantial indie launching alongside the Switch.
something that we forgot to remind people of Earthblade from the people that made Celeste. So
Yes.
because also Earthblade really a hard name for me to remember what to latch on to.
It's a
little tough.
as much.
It
I
feels
love that
very
studio.
retro
Either.
to me. Like it feels like one of those old
It definitely is giving retro. Yeah.
SNES games.
Also,
Like
like
Legends of
and,
Mana Core, you know,
Yeah.
kind of.
and like no offense to the studio, it's a video game title.
Yes,
is.
definitely,
It is.
definitely. But I think I think once we see more marketing for it, the latch might happen more easily. But
Yeah, yeah.
whenever I hear Earthblade, I always have to double check. Is that the one that's the Celeste? Yeah, so that's why it would make sense. Celeste had such like a huge presence on the Switch. And really got its start on there.
A point two to the Earthblade launching on Switch 2. People will confuse it for Earthbound.
Oh,
gosh.
Okay.
Psychological play.
I want to go off of that a little bit of like just games and just going for like kind of dream hits here. I don't know. if
Sorry, you want to talk
anybody-
about video games on this podcast?
Want to talk about video games? Y'all want to talk about indies? What?
What?
Isbirds got Isbirds it's publisher. The indie publisher has 3 projects coming out in 2025, and I want to I don't know exactly how to put this. Maybe just that they dominate, essentially. But like, I think that their scored projects that come out this year will be, like averaged in percentage together, higher scores than any other indie publisher this year.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
any
'cause,
other is tough.
Yeah, because like I
Ooh.
know, like you got Devolver, but like
Annapurna.
Annapurna, but
Well,
like you know
you know
what
what I
if
mean.
people don't like one game? Like you get a really high, but you know you see a lot of them get like, oh, we didn't love this one. But like I think that Isbeard's games this year are going to be banger after banger after banger. So I can't think of another publisher that might outdo, like, unless PlayStack is trying to come up behind me with some like Balatro like successor, but I don't know. Anybody else want to?
What does Panic
at me with
have? Because Panic, I feel like could potentially, depending on what their slate is looking like this year. I'm trying to think of like Kepler too, because Kepler's got some really
Got
good
some
stuff.
good Up, y'all.
Yeah.
I do want to shout out with, I call them Yes Bird.
Yes, bird.
Yes, Bird.
Yes Bird. Shout out to Everdeep Aurora. I
Yeah.
cannot wait for
Mhm.
Everdeep. And obviously,
So good.
it seems like Demon School's first up. And obviously, I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a critical darling for a lot
And
of
Love
folks.
Eternal is the next one.
Love Eternal
Yeah,
also
Love
looks sick.
Eternal is
Yeah.
the gravity one, right? Where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that was so much
Yeah.
fun too.
Right?
Yeah.
They do have
And
a really strong
based
slate.
on people really loving Valhalla, the Nirvana also is probably be a critical darling.
I think that's a good.
I'm looking at Panic.
Yeah, I know. Me
Yeah.
too.
I only
I'm
see
looking.
one,
I'm like,
one
what's my
title for
competition?
Yeah, I only see one title for Panic, but Mike, double check my
Wanderling?
work because I might be missing some. No, Blippo Plus.
Okay.
It's like a weird,
Okay.
yeah,
like
yeah.
a-
it's the
it's like
weird like,
almost
it looks
FMV
like it should
style,
be-
but it's like pointillism.
Yeah, it looks like it should be on the play date, but it's not.
Yes, it does. Like,
Yeah.
it also kind of looks like It reminds me of like when you take a photo with the Game Boy camera, which Despelote also has that going, that like, kind of graininess.
How's a game in development right now, though, right?
Yeah, so Panic has the one we were just talking about, Blip Blop. The logo was all
Oh, it's
jumbled.
Blip
Is that what it's
Blop,
called? Thank you.
I don't know. Blippo? I
Blip
don't know.
Blop.
I'll figure it out.
Blip Blop.
Hurdling,
Blippo Plus.
Despelote, Time Flies, and Big Walk.
Oh, time flies.
And Big Walk is
Oh yeah,
the
Big
house
Walk
game.
was
Big Walk.
had its little TJ moment at the the pre-show kind of stuff.
I don't know.
All
I'm
of those
still
do
saying,
say come in 2025.
I think
Time flies
these
also.
So that's
years
that's a
ago-
strong lineup, except for Blip Blop. It's a
Blip
Blip Blop.
I'm
It's
calling
No,
it
Blip
Blip
Blop.
Blop
Blip
now.
Blip Blop.
No, I'm
Blip
calling it
Blop.
Blip Blop now from now on.
Yes,
I
Bird.
could back.
Yes,
I
Bird.
could back
Blip Blop
East Bird.
is Bird.
Because yeah, like I do think they, we talked about this last year that they're kind of like the one to watch, where, not to make it like this person's like better than this person, but if you think of like knowledge and like depth of like deep cuts as like tiers, like Yeastbird is like right below the more sort of obvious answers for publisher, right? The Devolvers, the Panics, the ones that we like know of and think of as like almost not entry level indie, but it's just like they're the big names in the
Right.
space.
Annapurna Devolver, like
Yes. And I feel like they're going to be the next one, obviously, again. And then at that point, everyone will know their name. It won't be as much, well, at least everyone that's in the indie scene, right? But yeah, all their titles, I haven't played one thing from them that I thought was weak, and they were all from different
Yeah.
genres, which is kind of wild.
Mike's coming in here with concern.
No, not concerned. I think another
Okay.
strong contender is because they had a surprising and banger 2024 is Critical Reflex. They kind of came out swinging as well. They're kind of like opening up. They did mouthwashing and buckshot roulette. They're really like getting into their horror Duffy quite a bit.
Blumhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of horror,
Blumhouse also.
might.
But like real quick with Critical Reflex for 2020, or at least for coming soon, Flawless Abbey looks really cool. Altered Alba, Rosenlocket has been cooking for a long time. Same
Yes.
with Being and Becoming. Scrolling a little bit, Freaked Flea Pit looks really sick. Going into the horror space, Regular Home Renovator Simulator, Drowned Blake. They have a lot in the chamber that I think could surprise a lot of folks. But yes,
Okay.
Blumhouse.
Blumhouse has also got a lot cooking. Grave Seasons is high on my list of what I hope comes
Yeah.
out this year. But in the publisher space, what are we thinking? Is Beard? Are we feeling safe saying that it's got that average dominated? Because it's only
I think
got-
with the 4 games that we know about, I think all those are kind of like surefire hits.
yeah.
If they get the like, how are we determining that
I
success?
was
Like, are you
gonna
talking
go,
like
Like
Metacritic score, or just like vibe?
essentially,
Like,
yeah.
I was thinking Metacritic,
'Cause-
yeah. We have just to have some way to contextualize it. Otherwise, it would just be us being like, this game was better,
Yeah.
which we could do, but we do that a lot already.
We
so-
do that a lot. It's fine. If y'all want to come up with another prediction for any of the other publishers in another sense of things, like go for it. But I'm gonna call it Isbeard Project's average. That's not a good way to say that at all, but I'll come up with a way to say it.
I still wonder if Annapurna, I mean, obviously it's Annapurna has that, that kind of influx thing, but just the slate is pretty.
the slate is stacked.
But
It's just a
really
matter of
is-
like what is happening.
it's got more, which always allows for the
more
more
dips.
games you put in, the more dips you can have.
But I
I
feel-
want to shout
Yeah.
out a different prediction I have for Annapurna.
Sure.
Because it's going through a bunch of tumultuousness right now. I want to shout out that there's going to be an Annapurna / Pop Agenda showcase sometime this year. It's going to be a banger.
When?
Just at some point. Just 20
Summer. It's going to be. It's going
Feed
to
the
be in the
fish. Come on.
summer. It's going to be in the. It's going to be in the summer. A summer, maybe summer game fest thing. Look, I tried to feed the fish, and now I'm blurry. Thank you, Mike.
With
Doesn't
context
feed the
that
fish. You need
none
the
of us-
information to feed the fish, right? It's like
No,
that's-
we just feed the fish. It's okay.
We
It
just
could
need to
be
feed fish.
blanks, you know.
Just like incorrect information.
Could be little saltines. It's fine. I know Jenny can't say anything, whatever.
Say anything.
I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a GDC show.
Ooh,
Just out of
think
fucking nowhere.
GDC. Interesting.
If not GDC, I think, yeah, like summertime post SGF pre Gamescom.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that showcase is a good idea, and I would put that down. I wouldn't attach a date to it, like a window, just because I think it's gonna. If it was like a thing that recurs, like Nintendo, like indies or whatever, like that I think is fine to attach a date to. But since this isn't in that ballpark, I would just put it on there. But yeah, it's good. That would be good. Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
Jenny, yep,
To me.
Yeah.
correct.
Mhm.
That's yep.
As
All those
someone
words
who
are words.
definitely-
Yep.
So speaking of showcases, y'all have any thoughts about what might be happening in the showcase situation?
What
In
showcase
the world of
situation?
showcases? Like
Just
Mike
showcases in general.
can't talk about his own showcases, of course, but like I thought about III showcase. I don't think we got an official like it's happening again. I know that they said if it's super popular, it's going to come back. And it was super popular and it was viewed by lots and lots of people. So I think it's going to be too easy to say that the III showcase comes back. But I want to think of something related to it. And I don't know exactly what I want to say for that, but maybe just keep that bubbling in the back of your head.
I feel like that one maybe this is a half formulated idea, but that one was really interesting because a lot of indie studios hopped in to help with that showcase. So I would love to predict like what if they brought in like another indie showcase to be a part of
It
the
starts
show.
eating up all the showcases. Oh, I love it. Okay.
Like yeah, because who was it? It was like the Slay the Spire folks, and
Mhm.
I don't remember who.
Red Hook Studios was a part of that. Oh, I know I'm missing like a lot of the main headliners, but like yeah, there were
Vampire
a lot
Survivors,
of Vampire Survivors,
Darkest Dungeon, Risk of Rain, V Rising, and more. I'm reading the blurb from Google.
And they're all it's not publishers, they're all developers. So I think they stick in that vein. And it is like indie creators for and by indie creators. And they're definitely going to stick to if it does happen this year, I think a big part of their mission was to not attach it to any showcase in particular or like gaming event. So they're definitely if they do it, I think they'll definitely stick to that. I don't know.
I'm down for that.
Just that it'll happen. Just give us a nice easy one.
It could just be
AAA
that it
showcase.
happens. I wouldn't mind the what Jenny brought up with the sort of idea of like collaborating, like a cross showcase collaboration. I think that's
Okay.
if you want to
Big
make it more
AAA
interesting.
showcase collab we'll put on the list.
Well, is it like that's collabing with another show, or is it? Or like,
I'm just gonna say
already
collab.
inherently-
There's a big
But
collab that
we're not going to
happens.
remember this when we look at it later. If
I
you
am-
don't
I am.
write it.
We're gonna remember. Don't worry about it.
Okay, someone write down that I told Jill she's not going to remember it, so that when that happens,
Okay, that's-
we can
okay.
point back.
Jill,
And Jill can act like
forgets
she never
something.
heard me say this. She's like, who's to say that?
Jill forgets Janet's warnings is going
Yeah.
on the list.
Sounds like a bingo square.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah, answer my riddles 3, you know? Just-
I have an interesting one, maybe that we could tie into the AAA showcase also. One of the most hotly anticipated indies that we just don't hear a lot about. I think we hear about Haunted Chocolatier this year. Maybe we see it at the AAA showcase.
I like Haunted Chocolatier mention. That'd be good. From
Okay.
the maker of Stardew Valley.
Yep.
At some point, you're going to have to put down Stardew and tab over, which, I mean, it's probably already being done, but it's like, it's a thing where Stardew's been updated so much that it's like it's interesting to think of that project being ever done and moved on from in a bigger way, but it's got to happen at some point.
Right. I know I spoke to Eric Barone when I was still back at Game Informer, so it's been like a couple years now. who was very clear, like, I'm gonna, that's my baby, but now it's time to step away and start working like head down on this other thing. Obviously, that's not the case because he was obviously very in the weeds working on the updates that have just come out. So and was very clear too that nothing has really happened with Haunted Chocolatier because he's been working on that. So yeah, this is a big, I'd love to see Haunted Chocolatier. If Haunted Chocolatier shows up at the AAA showcase, I'd be thrilled.
Do we want to do Playdate finally releases their speaker that they were going to I know that
please put
I
that on the
forgot
bingo.
about that.
Please.
Yeah.
from and
Okay.
Kelsey as well. My colleague slash boss, Ben, who runs MinMax, and then my colleague Kelsey Lewin over there, they went to visit their studio, and during that, they basically were like, "Oh, I mean, we'd like to do it at some point, but it's actually really hard to make it where it's not like kind of really bad, and we don't want to make a bad they were talking about that a bit. So that's not super deep additional insight, but I just kind of wanted to also give a little bit more context for where they seem to be at, which kind of puts them in the perfect, like, who knows spot. Like, it would not surprise me if they end up just canning it. It also wouldn't surprise me if they finished it, because it seems like they would like to do that. I think it's also the classic, whenever you put out a project and have something like that, you kind of do feel that obligation to follow through, and I feel like they might have that feeling. Again, Playdate fans are pretty much down because you're a Playdate fan, but I'm sure that they'd love to get that off the ground, and who doesn't want that little pen holder? So yeah, they're gonna get that out there. They dropped that pizza case.
They did.
So
Love
they're
that
still
case.
actively making little accessories and things, and there's stuff like, just talking anecdotally to like the people over there about just like the excitement around Playdate, specifically at showcases. Like when people see it, again, those are people that they paid money. Again, the context, right? They paid money to go to PAX. They're like the big kind of spenders. They like care about indie. So they're like, oh yeah, how much is this? Sure. Load me up with a couple. Give me the tote bag. Like, so I definitely think they'd move units if they were to make it. So yeah, here's hoping.
Jill, it seems like it's not happening.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to be blurry the whole episode from now on. But
Yeah,
it's
I
an
think you're right.
artistic
Just out of
choice,
focus. Janet, I found there's like a whole update on Stereo Doc on Playdate's website.
I
and
love this.
That's amazing.
speaking of things not happening, it seems like the Stereo Doc is also not happening.
No.
Oh.
So they did give up?
There's go to play.date/stereo -doc. There's a whole page about like their entire process and all the like trials and tribulations they went through. But it ends with eventually we hit that painful line. We're spending more to make this product than we're ever going to likely make back from it. So we hit a pause. We all deeply hope that there's a time we could reboot this project and bring the Stereo Doc to the finish line. But for now, we need to focus on Playdate itself as our new factory comes online and production once again resumes getting more Playdate systems into the world. If we pick the project back up, you'll be the first to know. We promise.
Should we take it off then? It could still happen technically, but it seems like
If you want to do
probably
it,
not.
I'll leave
think
it to you, Janet.
I would say let's take it off, but I open the floor to if anyone has like a fun Playdate idea that's like a little bit more intriguing than like a new season. Like that could be, whether it's maybe like I know a thing that happened this past year was sort of again, not to tier things, but sort of like that big name on Playdate. What was the Jill? You played that
Lucas
game.
Pope.
Oh, the Lucas
Yeah,
Pope
Lucas Pope.
game that was there.
So maybe there's
yeah.
like another like clout comes to Playdate again or something. I don't know what could write for that.
Playdate will have an exclusive Game of the Year contender.
Ooh.
Whoa.
How about Playdate
Whoa.
is
Yeah,
part of
let's just I see it. We're reeling it in. We're
Yeah.
reeling it into something else.
Playdate shares its
For
games
the Indie Council, there will be a Playdate
I'm
game
still
in contention.
still where this
I'm
is
still reeling it in. I'm still reeling it in. I think that might be a bit. It's it's evocative, but I don't know.
Coming up with I don't know what words are anymore. Speaking
does.
of things that are evocative but neither here nor there, I've got a couple rapid fire miscellaneous things I want to throw out there. And some of this might just be me, but because everything that's been announced for Q1 seems so strong right now, I'm going to throw out there that a Q1 game wins Best Indie at the Game Awards.
And it will
like
be
it.
probably Citizen Sleeper, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Just
who
based on
knows?
like
We've got a lot. We've got a
based
lot
on
of
the
really
first
cool
game,
games.
I don't know anything about Citizen Sleeper 2.
But like
But yeah,
Q1 games include Citizen Sleeper. We just got
Afterlove.
Afterlove EP was announced for that. Wanderstop is coming out in that first quarter. Like we've got a lot that we know
I think
about.
there's another. Isn't there another Valentine's
Lost
game
Records,
that's like
Bloom and Rage.
another Valentine's game that's like crazy?
Bionic Bay coming March 13th.
Lonely Mountain Snow Riders is coming out, but I don't think that was what you were thinking of, Mike.
I
As
think
much as I would want to think about it.
I had to change this on my channel, but originally Morsels was coming out in February, but it's now just 2025. So that might be what you're thinking about.
I was thinking of Date Everything.
Did everything.
Okay, yeah.
Everything.
Also,
yeah.
so like we have really strong games coming out in the first quarter. So I don't know if y'all want to go for that one or not, but I kind of like it as an option.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Sure.
Do you
if
say
wanna win.
nominated or wins?
Wins. I'm not doing this.
All
I'm feeding
right.
the fish.
All right. You know what?
I'm
I
feeding
say
the fish.
let's go for it. I'm here.
I love it.
I'm ready.
Again,
Next,
based on the conversation around the first game, I think Citizen Sleeper is like it could be a safe bet for there.
it's gonna
It's
like
probably
the
the
only
biggest
thing that
contender,
worries
yeah.
me is something coming out in January. Then when we get to December, are people gonna remember? But I'm letting it ride.
I
I'm
think
letting it
people
ride.
remember when the game is good enough. Like I think
Yeah.
it only
Yeah.
works more on the opposite end. Like I think sometimes, no offense, you can be a little on the maybe weaker side and slip through for recency bias, but I don't think it actually cuts as much the other way. I think good games people remember. And I think that's the conversation no one really wants to have, where it's like the truth is it was old and also maybe wasn't, carrying through in the year. Like it's rare. I don't think I can think of a time where like only I remember this great game and everyone else forgot. Like people usually kind of still know it.
Okay. I love it. We're gonna get another climbing game in 2025. We're gonna continue that trend. That trend is not slowing down, it's picking up.
I think we should instead like clock a new trend.
What's the new trend? What's our new trend, Janet?
I feel like to echo Mike's thing, the Bellatra thing is good, but I feel like don't we already had to have that though? Is the thing.
Okay. I'll say that. Bellatra likes make an appearance.
Well,
I think
we're
Oh My
always
God
going to.
Words
I
is
think
like the first one.
No,
kind
there's
of
that Peggle one that's like kind of like, I mean, it's
Oh,
sort of
Ballionaire.
different in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ballionaire.
Ooh, I think also because not to like toot our horn, but like Spirit Swap is doing match 3 blends. I know Xalavier talked about he's doing
Yeah.
like a match
The
3 blend.
Kaiju horror
The
game. Yeah.
dinosaur
Yeah.
The cooking
monster
game.
So
mansion
maybe we'll
thing.
see a blend between like hyper casual genres, like the match
Ooh,
threes, like
I love it.
Yeah.
the word games,
I like that
and
better.
then traditional gaming.
Yeah.
Speaking
I think
of
that's a
our
little
friend
more-
Xalavier,
Oh,
can we do
love
a
that man.
can we do a over
many
under on
games?
how many games
I had the
Strange
same
Scalpel comes out?
idea. The only reason I didn't bring it up is because like I had a hard time finding what is their current announced slate so far for this year. Do they have that post? Like I'm not really
Kind
sure.
of, but like Xalavier seems to like put out a TikTok and says like, "Hey, this new game y'all never heard about comes out in a month." Sometimes,
Yeah,
So-
sure. But I just mean right now, like, do we already know there's like one? You know what I mean? So that we can.
I
Oh,
feel
there's
like there's
the-
at least
the Kaiju-
two or
The Kaiju
three.
game, the TMNT game, and I think there was another one that he
But
was
are they
Yeah,
all
talking
this
that's
about.
the
year,
other
or
one.
are they just like ones that are?
At least
And then how many-
talking about, but
I think my last number question is how many came out in 2024, just so we can start to
I could find that.
find that spot. But yeah, I do think I think putting a number on it would be good and fun to do.
'Cause at
Also, while I'm
least
looking this
top
up, unrelated.
5 games came out last year because I'm like
I think so.
Holding, Beast. Did El Paso
Click
have
Holding
one that last
Beast.
year?
I think El Paso was the year before.
El
think,
Pa-
right? Yeah.
Life Eater.
Yeah.
Life Eater.
Life
Yeah.
Eater.
So maybe 3.
Their website's not up to date.
Okay. I feel like there's at least I would say 4.
I mean, I think
Probably.
there's also a good chance that some of these are just like, I can't believe y'all thought we were making kaiju romance.
No, I think all of those are real.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think Xavier gets a lot of jokes. I think everything he says in relation to like this is the game. I think that's the game.
So
yeah,
it looks
I think,
like they
I think
have
4, maybe 5.
Are they publishing all systems? Wait, Strange Scaffold. All Systems Dance is on the Strange Scaffold site.
Interesting.
Is
Did I
it?
know that? Did we
Or
know
on their
that?
upcoming releases on the Steam publisher page. So it looks like maybe they're helping with
Interesting.
publishing.
That's a
On their
good pair.
publishing page, yeah, they have the TMNT game, All Systems Dance, and Teenage Demon Slayer Society. They don't have the Kaiji
Right,
game
there's
up
that one.
yet. So
Yeah.
I feel like we could comfortably say, if we're counting All Systems Dance, like 4 to 5 games.
I'm going 5. I want to
Let's say 5.
A nice
We'll say
5,
5.
yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Perfect.
Side note, going back to the Q1 thing, Dream Core comes out next week. I'm stoked for Dream Core. That's a
Fun.
sicko mic game.
See, maybe you must. Sorry, this is a very much aside. I'll keep it short. My brother listens to the show, and I mentioned I'm like, oh, I might play Dream Core on whatever week on my stream. He's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that game. And every now and then I'm like, what? But and then whatever. Like it's mostly he listens to this for like indie stuff, and I'm like, I don't remember us mentioning that. He's like, no, someone I heard it somewhere, and it must have been you. You're the one. Now the loop has
Trendsetter.
been closed. Yeah.
Gamer.
So yeah, I was wrong to doubt. You were right. You did hear it somewhere, and it was probably from Mike.
Another quick one for me.
Demand your sister's apology.
Yeah. It was
Just
already
for
given,
everyone.
so
We'll put that
rewind
on the
it.
list.
I guess just
I feel like this is the year we're all going to become sickos like Mike. I feel like last year I looked into the hole, and now I'm ready to
the sick hole,
dive
the
in.
sickle hole,
The sickle
sickle
hole.
hole?
Yeah.
sick holding. Yeah.
I'm like, mouth washing was the gateway, and I'm
Yeah.
ready. And I feel like that's my
Listen,
personal
just
bingo card.
just get the sickle fish feed.
The
You know what
sickle
I'm saying?
hole
Nice.
is going
This
on
the year
the
of
list.
sicko. Yeah.
Another banger Q1 thing that's coming out in like 2 weeks that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about and folks are sleeping on. Robots at Midnight is really damn good.
Oh,
if you like
yeah.
Souls likes and like more casual Souls likes, it's really goddamn good. Please don't sleep on that game.
Robots at Midnight. I don't think I've heard
Yeah.
of that one.
Robots aren't asleep. Robots are sleeping. It's midnight. They're up.
Oh, yeah.
I think that people are going to mix up mixtape and lost records.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
For sure.
I think that's going to be. I just want to throw out an easy one that we can be sure that will pop up so that
Yeah.
we can get
Mixtape
one.
Lost Records equals Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds.
Yes, this year's Outer Wilds. I love it.
And somebody will also somehow loop Life is Strange in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Lost Records, the new Life is Strange game. Cool. Sick.
Yeah.
Don't put that out into the ether, Mike.
In their defense, I as someone who's like obsessed with these style of games, I find myself constantly running to Google before I speak on them ever, just to double check, loop back, then get all the names, all the lore of all this stuff. Yeah, it's messy.
Okay. Also, throwing out the things that we have on our list for 2025 games that we hope come out that we haven't mentioned already: Toem 2, Pony Island 2,
not
Deltarune
happening.
Chapter 3 and 4. Wait, you said it was or isn't?
I'm the one that wrote Pony Island. Realistically, it's not happening. But
I mean,
what a
it
surprise
was
it would
announced.
Don't say that. It was in my draft
In a
for
fair
my
amount of
Fantasy
time.
Critical.
be. Was it?
Yeah.
I was judging by the trailer. Like that, the trailer ended with like 24, 25, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like it seems like it's.
I forgot about
early.
that part. Man, they did that on the Steam page.
I mean,
Damn. I should have
Again,
went back.
speaking of sickos, Daniel Mullins, king of the sickos. So maybe
King of the
he
Sickos.
surprises us.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Tanuka Pond Summer. I don't actually know if I know this one. Go, Jenny.
It is a super adorable looking game. I
Is this
feel
the
like it's the one where you're like
Curse
the
the Gal
little
folks?
tanuki. You're a tanuki like delivering mail, basically.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Curse the
yeah,
Gal
yeah.
folks.
I remember this. Okay.
So cute. So yeah, it doesn't have a release date. I feel like it could go either way, but I'm hoping. I'm pretty sure. I feel like it's a solid hopeful for 2025.
Mhm.
I'll skip She Dreams Elsewhere.
No, I want that. I want She Dreams Elsewhere.
That is my medium hopeful for
We
2025.
She Dreams Elsewhere made an appearance at the Mix last year.
It did, yes,
So-
and that's why I'm putting it on because I was talking to Davion and I was like, I know you can't say anything, but just so I feel good about putting that in. The super hopeful, we haven't heard anything but Way to the Woods. That's the deer
like it.
game. It was announced probably years ago. I don't remember anymore. But it looks so beautiful. I think a lot of people compare it to Stray in that you have an animal protagonist silent. You're following it through the sort of post-apocalyptic world. I am super excited for it, and I hope we
I love that.
get a surprise.
Yeah.
How do you remember all of these games? Where you're like, what was it? The Consume Me? You're like, I've been holding on to this for 20
Yeah,
years. And I'm
Consume Me
almost
is
ready
wild, Jenny.
for all of you to join me. Because I remember seeing this too. I have no idea when, but like, I would
It's been
never
everywhere.
I would never in a million years be able to pull this to the top of my mind.
Did you guys show it on a wholesome show? It was on some show.
I think it was on one of our first directs, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Way of the Woods, I think, was on like a PlayStation thing way back in the day. Like,
Was it?
yeah.
I think so
Yeah.
too. I feel like it was a big stage.
yeah.
I don't think I was as like tuned in at the time. I hadn't awoken, like
Yeah,
fully to society.
We hadn't looked into the sicko hole yet.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay,
dangerous place to
other
look.
the quick things that I want to throw on there that probably won't come out this year, but I'm hoping. Kernel Hearts, we talked about that a little bit. Magical Girl, Slaying Gods. Profana, Fishbowl. What are my other ones? Grave Season, we talked about. Happy Bastards looks really fun. RPG turn-based
yeah.
where you're just in charge of the adventurers rather than being them.
Yeah.
My Work Is Not Yet Done. Speaking of the sicko hole.
Mm-hmm.
Sword of the Sea would be an amazing thing to see, and it's not unreasonable perhaps to think that it might show up.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I
Scarlet
have one.
Tyrion is another one.
Yeah,
I really
Scarlet
want to see.
Tyrion. Oh, yes. I have one that I think if we have more than enough, I don't think we need to put it on because supposedly Deltarune chapters 3 and 4 are confirmed 100 million% according to Toby Fox for 2025. So I would love to put it on there, but I'd love to maybe make it a little more interesting. Like I was toying with the maybe this is a Switch 2 like it's going to launch on PC, Switch 2. But
I like Deltarune chapter 3 and 4 as part of the Switch lineup.
And remind me, when chapter 3 and 4 drop, it's going to be like the complete thing, right?
we still
so.
have chapters 5 and 6.
Dang.
Oh, there is a 5 and
I
6?
thought there was
Jeez.
4 was the end of it.
That's what I
Never mind. Then
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a Switch thing then. I think they'll
Okay.
wait until, but maybe they announce
Do you
the
think it'll be
full-
the
every chapter for the Switch 2 at some point.
man? At some point, but I feel like that'll probably be so far in the distance we can save that for like next year's bingo card.
Okay. Well, let's just
Switch
do
too late.
Deltarune.
I think how about well, is this already so I'm looking at the website to try to form this thought. I'm thinking something with Big Mode. They're a
Okay,
new
yeah,
publisher on
yeah.
the scene.
Oh,
Got
yeah.
Animal
Yeah.
Well. Everyone's like, "Oh, you thought that this wasn't going to eat because of who I am? Oh my god, this is like the best game I've heard." And everyone's like, "Oh, I guess I don't know. You could curate games, I suppose." So, all right, my bad. Didn't recognize your game. So I think Big Mode definitely made a big splash coming into the scene. They have Star of Providence. This is upcoming, release date to be announced. I don't know if it should be like that coming out, a new project. I also feel like I haven't heard that much about Star of Providence, so I don't know if it's like if they're gonna kind of put it out. But I'm a little curious of what's going on over there. So I wonder if there's
Okay.
something there that could be fun to do.
We could
kind of
do
situation.
just a Big Mode out of the blue announcement.
Maybe like big mode, big announcement. I don't know.
Big
Yeah.
Mode, big announcement. I like it.
Yeah.
Though, would we count it as an announcement if they did something with Star Prop? Because I guess it's already. Maybe I just missed if they've mentioned this. I'm not following everything they do. Maybe I just didn't see it. But
I think the
yeah, I'm
next
surprised to see
time
they had that in there.
when it shows up, we will debate if it counts as the big announcement
Sure.
that we want it to be.
Speaking of big things,
Big.
big fan? Someone with big fan? Do we get the first
Yeah.
big fan
Yeah,
project?
that's true.
I think that would be a fun one. Can you remind me what Big Fan is?
The
Slash
Devolver
listeners.
label about like adapting
The IP.
IPs. Yeah, like known IPs into Is it known IPs into games or game IPs
Yeah.
into entertainment?
I think
Known
it's
IPs
other,
into
into
games.
Known
games.
IPs into games.
Yeah.
So okay. Yeah, I think we get the first substantial announcement of that. And I think it's gonna be a notable indie dev working on a pretty notable project or IP, I should say.
Okay.
Who that is and what it is, who the hell knows? Kind of I think they have some like
have
entertainment
some things
partners
up already,
announced.
yeah.
Like I think HBO was on that list.
Yeah. Dark Horse Comics, Rebellion. Disney.
You want to keep it at one announcement, or do you think they may have like a slate that they come out with?
Interesting.
A slate being maybe like 3, you know. But do you
it's
think they
tough.
come out with more than one?
I could see them doing similar to what Blumhouse did, like come out
Literally,
swinging
yeah,
with.
yeah.
Yeah.
I literally was thinking the same thing.
Let's go.
Big fan.
yeah.
The Blumification of big fan.
Yeah.
New trend, the Blumification of announcing shit.
But I mean, I do
Yeah.
think that's kind of a an interesting angle that they had that I haven't really seen as much before. Of like, hey, we're gonna come out the gate swinging. We have one thing that's basically almost ready, and then kind of a lineup to excite you about who
Yeah.
we are.
Real talk, that was still like my favorite like announcement thing, just like how it was done, like the genuine surprise that it was, and
That was really
delightful.
cool.
Good job.
I also really liked
Especially
the,
because like in my mind, I was like, it's a Megan video game, cool, whatever.
yeah, I definitely. I think it surprised me for sure on just the energy they kind of brought forward. That was cool.
Okay,
Yeah, I
y'all.
can see
things
it
do we
being
have?
I can see it being a slate though, like at least
Yeah.
3 games.
Yeah.
I feel like we've
Yeah.
got a lot going on here. My murder scramblings down here make it hard to actually count how many, but I feel like we've got a good number.
Got enough?
Does anybody want to throw out their last ditch, like, these are the things I want to make sure to put on the bingo card? And again, anybody who's playing along at home, put
Sorry.
something in a comment. Let us know. Let us know what you're thinking about for 2025 Indie Bingo.
I also just want to shout. Q1's a banger. Rift of
Q1's
the
a
Necrodancer
absolute
also has a date
Yep.
in
It's so
February.
good.
Come on.
Like, I'm just saying that it sounds like it might be a wild prediction, but I think it might happen. So
Buzz Lightyear's coming to Brawl Stars. Let's go.
let's go.
We've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
All been waiting for Buzz.
But while we're
Get your
waiting,
buzz on.
we can talk about games we've been playing.
Wait, do we
I
have
think-
this card solidified?
I'll
Ish.
make it up. I'll
Oh,
make
you're gonna-
it-
you're gonna- okay,
I'll
so you're gonna, like,
send it up.
You're gonna do the
We can-
the calculations, and then come
Yeah.
back next week
Well,
with like
yeah, I'll show the grand reveal.
it
of the
officially
bingo.
pressed. Okay, I got you. I didn't mean to blow up your spot there. I was making sure. I'm like, do we know
Laminated.
what's going on here?
Yeah, no.
Our laminated
Notarized.
copies will be in the mail, so tune back in for I'll share it on socials too, so people can print it out or go to your local library, print it.
Make sure it's printed on like official paper where you have to like do the blue light kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Make sure it's legit.
I want to get like the stamps that they have in the bingo halls, but like indie council,
Yeah.
so we can like
Yeah,
stamp.
that'd be so cute.
Oh my
That
god.
could be our first merch. is
Oh my
stamps.
god, I would love that.
Maybe that should be Indie Council gets merch 2025.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Stamps are easier than clothes. I feel like maybe harder to source,
yeah.
but
Interesting.
we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Mike,
Hi.
you and I have been playing a game that's recently come out in early access.
It's true.
One Hyperlight Breaker. How are you feeling about it so far?
Gotta be honest, not great. But hey,
Oh, no.
early access game,
Yeah.
it's fine. We know what you're getting into. Going back to my SGF thoughts, of course, this is the follow-up to Hyperlight Drifter.
Drifter. Yeah.
Except kind of a new take on the IP, where Hyperlight Drifter was a top-down Zelda action like kind of game. This is very much in the same vein as like a Risk of Rain 2. Rogue light, like whatever you want to call it, over the shoulder third person action game. I loved what I played at SGF, and so I was really excited to dig into this when it launched yesterday, I think, by the time we're recording this. And maybe it's because I'm playing on Steam Deck, but it seems like a lot of people are having issues also. Game is pretty buggy, doesn't run all too great. Like it's inconsistent frame rates and whatever. I'm not like the biggest stickler for that kind of stuff. It's still playable. My biggest issue at the moment, this game is punishing solo.
Yeah.
I cannot get through, like, I can't get maybe like 50 feet in front of me and make any progress at all. So I played maybe like the game runs in cycles. So instead of it being a traditional roguelike where you're doing runs and like you die and completely restart, the world renews, whatever. The game gives you like 4 lives essentially, and when you lose those in order to like complete a cycle, which a cycle is, you complete like you have to collect these prisms by defeating like mini boss, like micro bosses, which unlock the ability to go into mini bosses, and you beat 3 mini bosses to defeat the big boss, and that completes a cycle. So you have 4
Or
lives
if
to
you're
do
like me,
that.
you just run past everyone and you just grab
Or you just
them.
run past everything. So like I was able to beat like one of those micro bosses, and like it's really just like a beefed up normal enemy. But man, I just keep getting swarmed, and like
Yeah.
it's really overwhelming, and like you can't really like catch your breath. Like I understand it's, I think primarily supposed to be like a co-op ish game, but like it's, when I played it at SGF, it was very manageable and very fun solo. So there must be just some balancing stuff
There
that
was a
they'll
lot
have to sort
of
out. But
for those, there was a lot of guidance, I think, is really the difference here.
mine was kind of hands off.
Oh, really? I had someone
Like
who was
he
like,
just
"You
kind of
definitely
like
want to go to that one over there. You don't want to."
they kind of just let me do my
someone
thing.
had lunch when Mike sat down. They're like, "What
It's like, but yeah,
I'm
you know,
kind of with
it's
you,
it's
yeah.
early access, and like we'll see. But like for the time being, I'm just gonna put it down and wait. There's plenty of other things coming, and I'll revisit it in a couple months or whatever.
I have been playing it on PC. So I've noticed a little bit of stuttery frame rates, but nothing too terrible, nothing that took me out of it. It was a little bit like, I think maybe I got lucky and I got some good gear to begin with. And I was able to like figure it out. And like running away a lot is a big
Just
name of the
spamming
game.
dodge.
Get out of there. I think what I really, really love about Hyperlight Breaker right now is traversal is so freaking amazing. Like you've got like off the bat, you don't have to unlock. You've got paraglider, you've got like a hoverboard, you've got dashes, you've got double jumps, you've got dashes that run into double jumps that run into mantling. So like there are a lot of really cool, and inside the game, you've got like little launch pads and things. They have really thought about how you're going to get around this space, which I think is really cool. I am
That's like a testament to like how Solar Ash feels. I think they took a lot from Solar Ash and put it into this game, which yeah, I agree. Like traversal is like genuinely super fun in this game.
yeah. I think the combat is really fun if you're not dying immediately. Like there's very interesting concepts between going through your melee and picking up a long range like a gun, and then you've got like bombs that you can pick up throughout your runs, and just making sure you're running between those. I think this game definitely was made for multiple people to be playing at once, so doing it solo is not like, I really think they're going to have to rebalance just the solo thing, because I've heard them talk about how like, oh, it's totally doable on your own, but it's really, really not. I can't see myself completing this cycle by myself. It's super beautiful as well. I want to shout that out. Very,
It's very
very
beautiful.
gorgeous looking. So I am higher on it than I think you are, and I think that the things that I'm currently kind of snagged on are things that early access is made for. It's easy to kind of, not easy.
100%.
Obviously, nothing in game dev is easy, but like it is something that can be addressed.
Yeah, like you said, I knew what I was getting into. Things will be balanced. I really hope we get closer in terms of like difficulty and the playability of it being a solo, optional solo experience. Like my time with SGF, I was able to complete a cycle. I had a blast. Like that's what really sold me on the game, because this is
You had time to complete a cycle during the appointment? Someone really did go to lunch. Like, I'm in here like 15. Mike got through this in 15 minutes. Dang.
Maybe they tuned the dials down after you went kill.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? And then Mike got like a different version of the game.
I love it.
Flying through like a god.
So yeah, I really hope we get closer to that experience, because that's what really sold me on the game. I'm typically not a fan of these kind of games. I like Risk of Rain's, like I respect the hell out of it, not my kind of jam, especially because it's so reliant on a co-op experience. I'm typically a loner and I want to just like rot in bed and play away and slash up these big neon monsters. So yeah, we'll give it a few weeks, months, whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm still excited to play it whenever it's ready to be revisited.
Moving from a game that's recently come out to a game that's been out for some time. Janet, you finished
I got-
Gridmaster.
Yeah, I finished Critmaster. Don't know how much I mentioned the fact that I did not finish this game like for a while. And I finally was like, okay, I have some time. You know, we were prepping for Yodi stuff over on Remap, so I'm like, this was the game I assigned people to play. So I'm like, I kind of feel like I gotta finish it because it's like I also told people to go play it. So anyway, and I liked the game. Finished it. Really glad I finished it. I will admit that those last like couple hours, I was like, ooh, does anyone else want to be done? I think it gets a little spongy towards the end is the thing. I was looking at over at Backlogged and seeing other people's reviews, and there's this one that really resonated with me that kind of pointed out it's a little bit of the symptom of the genre with dungeon crawlers at times. Like, just the enemies just got really spongy, and I felt like I was just doing that thing where I'm constantly like healing to bulldoze my way through because maybe I'm not quite powerful enough, even though this game doesn't really have power in that same way. You can gain extra letters to your name at certain points, and there's more abilities you can unlock. But yeah, so that part I was like, doesn't hit as much as it did before. But then it was over. So I feel like I still very much recommend this game. I've talked about it many times on the show, but just to be very brief, typing game, but not dexterity based. It is all about gaining letters through different ways. You can gain them from defeating enemies, from you also have these like different riddles that you interact with to gain souls, which are kind of like your mana for like doing some of your attacks. So yeah, really cool, really creative, a really robust set of responses. It's so unique and so rad. And I really love this title. But yeah, I finally finished that. And I also started and beat Arco.
I thought you beat it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I beat Arco.
I thought you were just gonna, and I started Arco.
No, real gamer hours in 2025. That's right. I'm now beating every game that I play. I'm
every 2024 game beaten.
I'm 1 for 1 on the games I'm bringing to the table. Yeah, Arco was super interesting in that I do generally like it. I think it's a great game. I think people should play it. It is a little bit its weaknesses can definitely get in the way, I think, of people wanting to stick with it, because I found that the game could be better at teaching you how to play it. Frankly, I think the reason I was able to play it was because my fiance Isaiah had beaten it and loved it and was able to kind of fill in a few gaps. Namely, really just you can do this move. It's turn-based, but then the moves run in real time. So maybe you choose to walk left, and then, you can see what the enemy's going to do. Like, maybe they're going to shoot. They have, like, a gun icon above them. So then when you've done your turn, you then walk left while the bullet heads to you simultaneously, and that's the process of it. Yeah, and I think I didn't really understand the importance of curving your walk to, like, dodge the projectiles for a long time. And then I played it on console. Actually, I played it on PC, but via Steam Deck. So I had, like, a console setup or a controller setup. And I do think that there are aspects of controlling the UI that feel a little bit like pat your head, rub your tummy a bit, where it's like, ooh, and then like
100%.
don't press the wrong button because you're gonna like ruin this whole turn and there's no rewind. So it definitely is like a challenging game that slightly gets in its own way. But I think it's totally worth going through and figuring out a lot of. I don't think there's difficulty spikes in the game, but I think there are understanding moments where like I got into a hard battle where it was like, okay, you have to be really smart about how you utilize your moves, how you use your, you have items in the game, like things you can throw, like little bombs, stuff like that, and how you're conceptualizing, like, when people are going to spawn in. So to me, I found that really challenging because I'm very item averse as a player. So it took me a while to run that over and over again and get going. And I spent so long on it, and I was so mad playing it. And then I got it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I like flew through. So I actually found myself breezing through a lot of the game, but when I was struggling, the pain was like kind of intense. Like I'd rerun stuff a lot. I think the other big thing I want to say on this game is that it's very known for its story. It's kind of this like mystical anti-colonizer tale that is looked at from multiple angles. In terms of characters experiencing, it's not like now from the colonizer side, to be clear. This is like how different people are impacted by colonization and familial trauma. I do think people lightly overhype the story. Like this is going to sound mean, but it is my opinion. I sometimes feel like when people don't play a lot of narrative games, when they play something that has a narrative, they're like, this is like the best narrative of all time. And I'm like, let's cool it down a bit. I think it is a really strong, cool narrative. And I think they do a great job really integrating narrative and gameplay in a way that many games, narrative games included, struggle to do, really melding those two. I think Arco does that really beautifully. And I think the last thing I want to say, and the biggest compliment, the thing I kind of love the most about the game, besides the mechanical systems, which I did think were quite fun, was the Oregon Trailness of it. No one had described this to me as, I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me this was Oregon Trail? Like, everyone said it's like a bullet hell kind of. It's not a bullet hell. I don't know why people were saying it's a bullet hell. I don't know why in the Steam page they reference bullet hell. Throw that away. It is not a bullet hell. There were like 9 bullets on the screen, sometimes moving in slow motion. That is not a bullet hell. Because that also turned me off from trying the game. I'm like, I don't know, tactics, bullet hell? Like, I'm not good at that. Like, it's not a bullet hell. But anyway, the Oregon Trail-ness of it, or, you know, D&D, there's other analogies you could use for it, is like you explore like a screen, right? Maybe you're walking through a patch of grass and there's some bushes. And as you approach a bush, it might say something like, you approach a bush, there's a few thorns. Do you reach inside to the glimmering item, or do you pass? And then you can choose, you know, maybe you reach inside and you're fine. Maybe you end up taking -2 health. And they do a lot of really cool, intriguing things. Like, one of the very memorable early examples of that for me was I was trying to find information on people, and I was like shaking these people down. Like, I did a combat scene with them, like a turn-based combat. Then I went into like kind of the narrative bit, and they're like, okay, you're interrogating this guy. You know, what do you do? And one of the options was to cut his ear off. So I cut his ear off because he wasn't answering my questions.
Yeah.
And then they're like, he bled to death and now you have nothing. And I was like, oh my God, like
I
when
don't
this
know if ears
happened in
need that much.
when this happened in Reservoir Dogs, the guy lived for a while longer. So I was supposed to Reservoir Dogs for that one scene. But yeah, so I was really like taken by those moments, or like there's also things that feel goofy but might end up having a good an interesting implication later. Like, I bought some cookies, and then there's like an achievement for being like a cookie lover. Like, there's a lot of cute, cool things just integrated with the story, with the like currency, the things you can purchase, the way abilities combine. But it can be definitely like it's a bit of a, you do have to invest a bit. But I think if you like it enough, like at the, you know, the jump, maybe the first hour or two, the first chapter, you should see it through, even if you hit some rough parts, because like I do think it is generally worth it. But there are some times where the game kind of just get in its own way a bit, and I definitely got very, very mad at a couple spots in the game.
Yeah.
By the time I reached the end, I was like, okay, this is a great video game. I think people should play it, and the art is very beautiful. This, that, and the third. People are right. Arco's awesome.
Yeah,
But there is some pain for sure.
I love your idea of like the rewind. Like, if there was
like an undo for a move,
like an
kinda,
undo my last thing because that was stupid button, I would recommend this game wholeheartedly to everybody. But yeah, I love hearing it. I love that you liked it and got all the way through it. Jenny, there's something here on this list that I don't know that you're even allowed to talk about, but I'm excited to hear about it.
I can't talk about it.
It's Jenny's rules.
It's mine. It's part. I'm one of 4 people making it right now. So
exclusive.
And the other 3 are aiming down right now.
And the other 3 are coming.
Alex
me,
just like
your screen goes black.
So I have not been able to play as many games at the start of 2025 because we're launching a game soon. So I have been in testing mode for Spirit Swap, which honestly, a little peek behind the curtains, you'd think that if you're just like, oh, let's play a game over and over again, and it's going to be so great and so fun, and it's your job to play this game. It's not. It's really no fun, especially when the entire time you're like, oh my gosh, please, like, is this going to work? Is this going to work okay? Oh my God, I found another thing. Like, I have to take notes. It's like the most stressful way to play and not enjoyable.
I love the idea that someone clips that part of just like Spirit Swap. It's no fun to play.
No. Oh my gosh.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great for players.
It's going to be great. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Spirit Swap because we're launching soon. But I have had the opportunity to play some demos, some smaller games on itch, which has honestly been kind of a boon because I haven't done like an itch sort of scouring in a long time. And so over the holidays, I went through, for folks, again, just as a general reminder in case people are new to the podcast, itch.io is a website where you can pick up games that are essentially, they go a range from indies that you can find on Steam to hobbyist developed games. They're at varying states of polish and quality levels, but it's really fun because you can just see sort of this raw form of what people are excited about and creating. One of the ones that I played was called The Dark Queen of, I think it's pronounced Morthulm. This game is free. It's 20 minutes. It was tedious in like a really lovely way. The premise is that you are the Dark Queen, who's kind of the final boss of what would be in any other game, and you're the most powerful being, and a hero shows up and you easily defeat this hero. But then the hero keeps coming back, and the hero learns, and the whole journey of you playing the villain in this game is sort of this relationship you build with the hero that keeps learning and keeps coming back and getting better. And it's a little clunky, it's a little slow, it's raw, but I was so charmed by this game, and I thought it did, I think, what it meant to do in such a wonderful, compact way. And again, it's only 20 minutes of your time. You can donate if you download, but it's free if you're not able to. And I had a great time with it. So yeah, really fun little 20-minute experience. That. Yeah.
That's that whole idea of like, what's it like to be a Dark Souls boss?
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool. And the game had some like touching narrative moments in the 20 minutes. Like there was a point in the middle where I was like, I don't know, should I keep playing? Because I feel like it's a little slow. And I stuck through, and I felt really good and happy that I did. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of things I think people love, Mike, OMG words. Tell me about it. You spoke a little bit of it already.
Janet, I need you to get your $9.99 out and throw it at Dave, developer of OMG Words.
After PayPal going crazy on this, paying $3 a month for 3 months. Before you go, I do have a quick question to contextualize your feelings on this game. Do you like traditional Scrabble?
I'm hit or miss on traditional Scrabble.
I feel like hate Scrabble a little bit.
Because I think
math, but go ahead. I want to hear what you got.
I believe it is a dumb game for that is usually not great for Janet or Mike. Scrabble, traditional Scrabble.
Yeah.
My vocabulary consists of 4-letter words exclusively, except for the word exclusively. But yeah, what OMG Words or Oh My God Words is, it is unabashedly Balatro with Scrabble. And when I say unabashedly, this game has, so there are boons, which are essentially your tarot cards in Balatro. There are relics, which are essentially your jokers. And you have power-ups, which kind of reflect what kind of deck you would choose in Balatro. So you're thinking of traditional Scrabble. Each letter has like a point value to the letter. That point value, depending on the word that you're building, that leads into your points, and the number of letters you use that equates to your multiplier. So similar to Balatro, there is points times, if it's a 4-letter word, like usually 8, because I think it's 2 per letter usually, unless you have a boon or a specific power up. That, depending on the amount of points you get, that relates to how much cash you need that you'll get in between runs. Instead of Balatro, unlike Balatro, where you have to hit a set number, and like once you hit that number, like the run ends, that's it. OMG Words has a bronze, silver, gold system where you at least have to hit the bronze tier. So let's say it's like 350 points. You hit that. Let's say silver, you hit that, you're safe, you're good. But you could continue and try to hit silver so you can get more cash, hit gold, hit more cash. And obviously the more cash you get brings you to the shop where you could improve your boons and your relics, just to try to make sure that you're in better shape for the next run. After a few of these base runs, I think it is similar to Balatro, where it's 2 normal ones and then a boss run. There are boss runs as well. So I think one of the ones that I came across when I was playing a little bit this morning was like all vowels are they don't count, like they're all like decommissioned for the run, which makes things obviously pretty tricky. But there's ways to counteract that, where like constant, like you could play a boon that like constants are worth like double the points, or select 2 tiles to make into like multiplier tiles. On the board itself, there are things to up your points and up your multiplier. But yeah, it's really good. I'm not a Scrabble person, but like I think just the additional gamification of it and just putting some of those Balatro systems into place just makes it really, really fun. I found myself into the rhythm of like damn, I just want to do one more run, just one more run, just one more run, which is like what you kind of want out of these games. But yeah, highly recommend it. It came out like January 3rd. So brand new, highly recommend it. It's a good, just like kind of how Balatro has, I think for a lot of people, became that like comfort food kind of game of like, let me just go do a run or two. OMG Words, I think, is going to be like that for me for the foreseeable future.
This doesn't have anything really to do with games, but I did realize while you were talking that the money signal gesture is sort of the opposite of the feed the fish gesture. Like,
Yes.
I don't
It's
know.
upside down, yeah.
Money?
I don't know what that
Yeah.
means.
Society.
There are probably deep meanings in there that we should look into. But instead, I'm
Also-
going to think about other games.
And unrelated to OMG Words, just because we were talking about itch for a second, I want to shout out Divorce Chat Room, which is on my list for it's a recently released itch joint where it's similar to Emily is Away, but you're just in an MSN chat
Ooh,
room.
I like it.
And I forgot if like your husband divorced you or you're the husband that divorced your partner. I don't
tried
know.
looking
Divorce
for
is
it.
involved.
And accidentally clicked on a real like thing of that. So,
No,
let's
it's
add
like going to be
itch
looking
dot-
at your...
Yeah. Okay. To add itch.io to that Google search if you want to.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
be careful about that.
Yeah,
I want to shout out very quickly things that you can go read more in depth my thoughts on my website. Revenge of the Savage Planet coming out I think it was May of this year. I played over the break. It's the first preview that I have put up. It was a lot of fun, except they had me murder a lot of very cute things. And they seemed so gleeful while I was doing it. Because I would never learn my lesson. I would come up to the cute thing, be like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. I love you. And then it's dawned on me that I'd have to murder it for some reason or other. So, there's that. Enjoy Revenge of the Savage Planet. I played Airborne Empire recently, also just came out in early access. And it's a very fun mixture of, it's a city builder, but you are in the air building. And it's just a fun mixture of like system heavy, but also it's accessible and it's got that little bit of humor to it that I always like to see in a game like this. So like early on as I was building, I realized that I was slowly like turning lopsided, like I was going to fall out of the sky because I was not taking balance into the equation. So yeah, I'm sure all of my Airborne Empire little citizens are having a great time trying to like climb their way up to like, I don't know, the bars or something. Bar crawl is a real thing now. Locator, I checked out. It now has a public demo out right now. I didn't go into this with the right mindset. I thought it was going to be like a nice breezy, like kind of fun, like, oh, look at this, like a little trivia thing. It's a lot more like Return of the Obra Dinn than I was expecting. Essentially, you're like a geoguesser, essentially. And someone comes to you and it's like, I've looked at everyone else, every other type of organization I could go to, I've gone to. My sister is missing, and she was an archaeologist, and she was here. Here are some photos. Please help me out. So you have to take these photos, look at the map that you've been given of her last known locations, and sort of place those photos in the right like place on the map. And when you guess 3 correctly, it'll say, yeah, you've got 3 correct. And then you can move on to the next place and kind of follow her trail through the images. And it's a little more intense than I was expecting, but definitely makes me want to like, okay, I have to sit down and really use my brain for this. But I want to see where this goes. So I hope to hear more about that in the future. And Monster Meals coming out Friday, I believe January 17th is Friday. And it's just a fun pixel, like you're making food, you're rushing out to the customers, you're trying to get things done on time, you're going back at the end of a wave of customers to go and customize and upgrade your like alien food truck that serves like monster bits and like scorpions and lizards. So yeah, those are all fun things you should go check out on theindianformer.com. I think that's everything. Did I miss any game that anybody wanted to shout out?
Oh, I did play the demo for Donchi Days, which
Okay.
I believe was like sort of a streamer press demo. So it's not publicly available to folks, but it was really cute. It's my jam, honestly. It's a game that is inspired by titles like the Hamtaro games, Earthbound Moon RPG, which was like the original game that inspired Undertale. So it's got that sort of it's a game about helping other people, listening to their requests, and like sort of bringing a community together. I love that kind of like that premise. I'm sold always. You play this little girl named Hoshino, and Danchis are the names for like the Japanese housing complexes. And so you live in this complex and your goal is to create this summer festival, and you have to go collect essentially 100 of your neighbors to agree to go to this festival and celebrate. And it's really, really cute. As you explore, you can sort of find objects, sense things about them. There's like sort of this internet in the game where you actually can go onto your neighbors' pages, learn about their quirks, and so that'll help you solve the quests. And then it's got a mini game format. Um, they don't have a release date, I don't believe. And this game is really interesting because it looks very cute, but there are some really chaotic elements to it, some very like not necessarily unwholesome dialogue, but there's like it leans into the gremlin energy at times
Okay.
in some really
Okay.
funny and surprising ways that I thought was really fun. It's by the team that made Anodyne and Anodyne 2. So if you've enjoyed those games, like this is sort of their next project, I would say. And I'm excited to see more. I think this is the kind of game where I love to see games that take cute aesthetics, don't and they have something to say, and they're not just about being cute.
Mhm.
And so I think that's really exciting to see. And they have, I think, announced on like their dev vlogs or something that they're going to have a public demo available soon. So
Ooh, exciting.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Maybe it'll be like a Steam Next, like the next Steam Next Fest we see. Maybe they'll make the demo public for that. So yeah, but Donchi Days, it's very, very cute.
Okay, and that's what we've been playing and the end of this week's council. Thanks for everybody for joining us. Thank you all for coming to our first 2025 meeting. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The Indie Council has its own socials. At the Indie Council on Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, and less on Twitter, but we're still there, so go check that out. This session is closed. Go play some indies.